Hello, this is Coach Hurd, and thank you for tuning in and listening to The Word from Coach Hurd, where I give you real talk biblical lessons because you already know I'm going to tell it like it TI is. The title of today's lesson is, Who is My Neighbor? Let me say that again. Who is my neighbor? And the lesson is coming from Matthew chapter 22, and the verses is 38 and 39. Listen to Jesus. Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So the question becomes, who is my neighbor? I'm so glad you asked. Let me help you out. Your neighbor is any and everybody. Your neighbor is not the person just next door. Your neighbor is the person who's across the Pacific Ocean. Your neighbor is the person who's across the Atlantic Ocean. Your neighbor is the person in Europe. Your neighbor is the person in Russia. Your neighbor is the person in China. Your neighbor is the person in Japan. Your neighbor is the person in Africa. You get the point. Your neighbor is any and everybody. And God says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, I know that mental health is real, so I'm not playing with that. Let's make sure we understand that. Mental health is real. But most people love themselves. They're not going to do any harm to themselves. Therefore, why are we looking to do harm to people who don't look like us, who don't talk like us, who don't act like us, and who don't hang out in the places that we hang out? Why we talk about those people and put those people down? You hear that term I'm using? Those. That's how we refer to people who don't look like us, talk like us, act like us, or even hang out with the people that we hang out with. Our neighbor is everybody. And if we look at the concept that Jesus says, love our neighbor like we love ourselves, then we will love everybody, even those people who hate us. He also told us to love our enemies. So even if you don't like me, that's okay. I still love you. Even if you try to do harm to me, that's okay. I still love you. Now, look, I'm telling you, you better use your common sense. You ain't trying to be around somebody trying to kill you or trying to do some deadly harm to you. But at the end of the day, I still love them. Okay? So, yes, we got to use the common sense that God gave us. Who is your neighbor? Everybody. That's your neighbor. So it is not just the people who are in close proximity to us. It is everybody around this whole world. See, listen to Paul. The Holy Spirit guided Paul to say in Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. He says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value... Let me say that again. Value others above yourselves. You see, that's loving your neighbor, because I'm going to put them above and beyond me and before me. Whatever I do for me, I'll do for you. There it is right there. I'm going to say it again. Whatever I do for me, I'll do it for you. And I tell people all the time, look, man, I'll help you if I can. And if I can't help you, I'm going to find the help for you. Why? Because God told us to love our neighbor. And our neighbor is any and everybody. We know the story of the Good Samaritan. Now watch this. Now, the Jews and the Samaritans hated each other. We know that. For political reasons, for religious reasons, for civil reasons, they hated each other. And the Jews considered the Samaritans half-breeds because of their ethnicity. So, look here, we see that same stuff today. We see it's the same stuff today. People don't like people because of the color of their skin, because of their ethnicity. We don't like people because of the religion that they believe in. We don't like people because of the college they go to. Lord have mercy. We don't like people because of the job that they may do. Lord have mercy. A plethora of reasons why we don't like folks. But God said that's your neighbor. Let's make sure we understand. God said that's your neighbor. And in that example of the Good Samaritan, everybody walked by that Jew that was on the side of the road, but the one person that they hated, stopped and helped that guy. So what is it saying? Put your differences aside. And if we love one another like Jesus says, like we love ourselves, man, there wouldn't be no division in the church. You wouldn't have all these different types of religions. There wouldn't be no divisions in politics. You wouldn't have all these different type of political parties. There wouldn't be no divisions country-wise. Man, folks would just get along. Because why? We will love our neighbor as ourselves. And that's a commandment. So you don't get to choose who you love. Let's make sure we understand. I ain't talking about no marriage. I'm talking about how we treat people, how we treat each other. You don't get to choose who you're going to treat well and who you're going to be ugly to. Because first of all, you shouldn't be ugly to nobody. I get it. For we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That's Romans 3:23. We mess up. But I tell you all the time, here's what the difference between holy and holier than thou. Those who are holy, they recognize when they mess up, they fess up, and they clean up. There it is right there. Love your neighbor. And your neighbor is any and everybody. Hey, I'm done with this. I'm Coach Hurd, and thank you for tuning in and listening to me. Catch me next week. Peace.